Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm Alistair, and 8 feet to my left is the amazing Marguerite.
Hi, everybody. I'll be just on audio for tonight.
She'll be on audio and in the chat tonight, and we have a packed show for you. We really, really do. Tonight we'll be finishing off the final bits of search and rescue. We also have some shenanigans for you because nobody needs to go to bed on nightmare fuel, and we have
Even after as optimistic a day as today.
even after as optimistic a day as today, and we have an opening monologue for you. That opening monologue is going to be read for you by our special guest, Mr. Brendon Connelly. Brendon is an old, dear friend of mine. He's a colleague. I've worked for him and with him. He's a fantastic editor, an amazing film journalist, an extraordinary writer, and just a remarkable game designer. And Brendon also has something interactive for us to play with tonight, which we'll get into in a little bit. Before we get there, though, a couple of things real quick. Firstly, welcome. Very aware that all of you are coming here from lots of different places. We have folks from York, folks from the Isle of Man, folks from the Mangstar Coast, folks from Pseudopod. Pardon me.
we've been watching the inauguration for like 5-6 hours now. So yeah, we're tired.
From all over the place. You are all welcome, and we're delighted to have you all here. There is a special favour that we are going to ask you this week, which is for tonight, a no Magnus spoilers zone. We're aware that episode 191
That is correct. 191.
191 has dropped to night level Patreons and above. And some of you are definitely going to be people who want to talk about this and have opinions. Should any of you want to do that, that is fantastic. But please, please leave it just for this week. We'll even, if you want, carve out a little bit of screen space for it next week. But for
Really?
tonight,
Really, you want to do that?
I'd be happy carving out some screen space.
Oh, we can. I could go back on camera for next week. That would be okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we
so
go.
so let's leave the discussion of 191 for another week until the episode hits the public feed, please.
Thank you, Pezzy.
Thanks so much, Pezzy. And a hail to the Queen. I need to know what Bradley Whitford said on BBC because I've been listening to the West Wing soundtrack all day long today. Gee, I wonder why.
Yes. So that's pretty much where we are. For those of you who are new, the show is broken into 3 sections. The first is the introductory monologue, which gives you a chance to get situated, get yourself hydrated, get a snack, feed your pets.
Attend to medications, all that good stuff.
The second is the normal weekly reading, which in this instance is the final sections of the extraordinarily good and extraordinarily horrible
Yes.
Search and Rescue.
We will be giving you content warnings, don't worry.
What content
Yeah,
warnings
you
we
might as
have
well
for
say
you.
content warnings all when it comes to search and rescue. But
And
yeah.
good evening to P. Lucasi the Spider. And we'll be rounding off with some shenanigans, which is just a couple of silly little bits and pieces of fan stuff for you to ensure that you don't go to bed and have horrible, horrible nightmares. So that's what we've got. And without further ado, what I'm going to do is introduce you to our special guest for the week, Brendon Connelly, and he's going to do you the opening monologue. Good evening, Brendon. How you doing?
Hi, Alistair. Yeah, I'm bad actually, especially not for midweek Wednesdays, huh?
I know, right? I know. Not quite anywhere, and yet.
Am I right? Am I right? Hump day. Yeah, but
Yes.
days have lost all meaning, right? As well. But it's been a good day.
Yes,
It's
it
been a
has.
hopeful day.
Very much so. Yeah, we were talking before we came on stream that the pair of us have probably had very similar days in very good ways, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. I think
So, Brendon, we're going to be
so.
talking in a little bit about the fact that you are just insanely multi-talented author
And all the t-shirts
and game designer, and you have extraordinarily good taste in t-shirts. But before all of that, I was wondering if you'd like to read the opening monologue for us this week.
Do it.
Fantastic.
Strange words, strange truths. There's a tax for living in small town. No one tells you, but everyone knows. The tax is a life. It's a generational toll. That horrific moment where the law of averages collides with the natural world. I grew up on an island. We lost a kid to the sea one generation and to cancer the one before that. One of my closest friends, his loss was my first encounter with mortality. An event that shaped my life at 16, to some extent. It does. In Stranger Woods revolves around a similar event. In a small Minnesota town, Jacob goes into the woods, vanishes, and then dies. His loss shatters the town, and his younger sister, Peregrine, Lily Mae Harrington, finds herself drawn to the local survivalist, Howl. Voiced by Patrick Page, Howl is a Tom Waitian ideal who looks like an archetypal unsub, bent double under a tragedy of his own. In an effort to understand her loss and to punch mortality in the face, Peregrine persuades him to teach her survival skills. Following months, her friends get caught up in the same curious orbit. The determined, intense, furious young woman, the laconic, reluctant outsider. And he represents both the edge of the village and the life that lies beyond it, the life that they blame for the death of their friend. Working together, the friend finds something bigger than the town. But for Peregrine, that isn't the point. The point is the final, when Hal will drive them into the woods and leave them alone, with no idea where they are, minimal resources, one task. I'm alive. Carlos, excuse me. Carlos Garcia's show art encapsulates everything about the show in a perfect frozen nutshell. A young figure, well equipped but still small and fragile, faces the weather and the woods, which serve as both metaphorical and literal barrier. If Peregrine beats the final, she can go home. If Peregrine beats the final, she won't want to. Another truth of small town life reveals itself. Growing up is growing out, and sometimes that takes tremendous courage to realise. Courage is one of the defining traits of the show, especially in the gutsy way it mixes two formats. Presented by co-creator Brett Ryback, it's very much a straight down the middle, Bear Brooks style true crime story. There's the distanced, respectful tone, the sense of lurking menace and tragedy, until suddenly things turn. The liminal space of the woods becomes the liminal space of genre. The theme tune becomes the refrain of the first song, mutating from a joyously lumpy substitute feature comedy moment to escalating levels of menace. You get ghosts of rhyming structure and Brett's dialogue. Suddenly he felt that single line. After that, everything has changed. The narrator's in the story. The footprints lead out into the woods. We're somewhere new and we're not prepared. That first song, especially, is from a phone conversation to recollections from what is the Brett still mostly distanced aside. The chaos of the unprecedented and the desperate need to know colliding with a comforting lie. The desperate need to know colliding with the comforting lie of the small town. Creators, Jeff Lupino Esposito, Brett Ryback, and Matt Sav continually map the emotional state of the characters onto the songs. And vice versa. Peregrine, played by Lily Mae Harrington, raps the refrain of Jacob's advice to her. Something happens, come find me. Like a garland of thorns, living inside the nebulous and defined failure she grappled with. Was it her perfect doomed brother, herself, or the lifestyle she's rejecting, the literal teenage wasteland? I've had the privilege of listening to the first two episodes of In Strange Woods, and it's remarkable. While it isn't the first podcast musical, its unique style allows it to tackle the vast expanses of grief and wilderness with the same determination as Peregrine, but far more preparation. There's something important in the woods, something vital and dangerous that the show and Peregrine are going out to face. I have no idea what they're finding. I have no doubt that I'll be listening. In Strange Woods is a compelling, tragic, funny, musical audio drama, unlike anything else I've heard this year. Give it a try. It's available wherever you get your podcasts.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for that.
I was you for a moment there.
You were me for a moment. Audio cosplay, yes. Brendon. Excellent. Let's talk about mysteries.
Yeah.
I'm very curious because you are such a wonderful kind of champion of them and exponent of them. What attracts you to mystery as a genre? What was the first one that kind of really hooked you?
I think the thing I like most about mysteries is a particular way that they create. Something can happen in a mystery story. And it can happen in other types of stories, but mysteries trade in this. They deal in this quite a lot. Is that the character, a great character we're invested in, has the same experience as the audience. Mm-hmm. But what I mean by that is there's a penny drop. And there's something really fulfilling about when you're watching a mystery show or reading a mystery book or listening to a mystery podcast that you put the pieces together. You are the detective. And your experience there, the sun coming up for you in that moment, really sort of brings you quite close to what it feels like within the narrative for that to happen. But also before that, the urgency, the need to want to find this out, the drive, you share the same desire as the characters. They want to make sense of this puzzle. They want to reorder their world, and so do you. So I think there's something really, really powerful about how mysteries entwine the sort of desire of the audience with that of the protagonist. And I think you know, all mysteries have done this, but to answer your other sort of question, I think the first time, and it probably does go back further than this, but the first time I can remember feeling this way was the 1980s BBC Miss Marple TV shows, which we were told to watch by our school teacher.
Really?
And because it was episodic, the assignment was to watch an episode and then to write what we thought would happen next. And we were encouraged to think about the mystery in a way that I've never stopped thinking.
Wow.
Which is that it's active. It's very active viewing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because you're assembling possibilities at the same time, as you say, as the characters are. The example which which always struck me, I used to be very fond of a show called Cold Case, which was one of the kind of extended CSI verse ones.
Yes.
The gimmick, for those of you who haven't seen it, is the characters in this particular unit specialize in cases which have gone cold. And as they reinvestigate them, they often interact in a way which the show very carefully never confirmed was supernatural or metaphorical with the victims. So there is an episode where they get the solve and the victim toasts them from the end of the bar, that kind of thing. But the thing which always really fascinated me about that was that it actually, a lot of the time, there is another layer on top of the one that you're talking about, which is they're trying to assemble a mystery, which is getting almost an ear in for the rhythm that a writer's room likes to operate with. The running gag with Cold Case was always, it's always the third person, unless it's the first person they instantly write off because it couldn't possibly be them. And
Right.
if you get a red line through their name, it's absolutely them who's the killer, and they'll be back by the end of the episode.
Who could it possibly? Who could it never be? Right? Is always is always a real spotlight on someone. Oh, it can't possibly be this person. And of course, that can be fun, right? And one thing that you and I definitely have in common is loving genre being itself,
Yes.
doing itself,
Oh yeah.
having fun with itself, right? So it can be fun when I watch an episode of Cold Case, for example, and it's like, okay, I know the rules, right? Yeah, and I'm going to see where they bend and where they don't, and which ones get tweaked a little bit this week and which ones don't. But sometimes there are mystery stories where they're not playing by those rules really, and they subvert them completely, and they throw them against the wall. And again, you do get something out of that if you knew the rules in the first place. You know what I mean? I mean, if you know what spaghetti is, seeing it all over the wall is even more horrifying than if you didn't know what it was. Well, actually, come to think of it, when I saw spaghetti all over the wall, I didn't know what it was. I'd be absolutely terrified. I've cooked up a little mystery for you tonight, actually, Alistair, which I hope maybe you want to delegate a little bit of the detection to the chat.
Oh, I would very much like that.
But I think you're up to the job, and I think what we should do is we should acknowledge the fact that it's a game now.
Okay.
But then let's just sort of roll with it. Let's just sort of go full kayfabe with it, right? And let's just spend 10 minutes in the round. So shortly you're going to get an email.
Fantastic.
And that email is going to contain a link. From that point, just roll with it.
Understood. And I will read the email out to the chat as it comes in, and we will do some detection.
So there will be there'll be an email for you to read. At some point there'll be images. I hope we get them on screen. If you come up with a link at any point, please share that with people. But I think together people can help you start putting this together. But at first, you don't know what the mystery is.
Okay.
You just sort of know what the domain of the story is. So at some point shortly you'll get an email.
This is going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this. And members of the chat are saying, ready to detectorize. There will be chat crimes. It's fantastic. Let's do it.
Fantastic. But after we do this, of course, we'll talk about plenty of other things. And I think well, Agatha Christie used to talk about phasing, and she would say she would introduce a clue early on, and then she would let it phase out, and people would forget that she'd introduced it. But I think what we should do now is we should have a little chat for a couple of minutes. We phase out the idea that the mystery is fiction.
Yep. You see, this is perfect because this ties into the unique brand of mystery that I have personal experience with, which is, and there may be some people in the chat I haven't gone, did I mention this to before? I'm a trained stage magician. I was trained in stage magic as a teenager by a mysterious old man who lived in a cave. Actually, it was Peel, but it was like a cave. And
seriously,
that's really wait, you're a trained what? Oh yeah, hidden depths.
Okay, we'll put that on the list of topics for next week, chat. How about that?
That training has really become instrumental in the risk of sounding intensely pretentious, my appreciation of art. Because the thing about magic is there are about 6 tricks. And there are infinite ways that you can conceal them. But the manner in which you conceal them, or the style with which you execute them, are, if anything, more important than the trick itself. And what it really taught me was the appreciation of style and of being able... The best way to describe it is it's usually a food metaphor. A burger is always just a burger, but a really good burger is made from the same ingredients by someone who knows how to make a really good burger. And it really focused me in on the appreciation of artistic ability and intent. That because magic is this fantastically varied and at the same time relentlessly small-scale profession, I got a real idea of how to do it well and what happens when you don't, and the joy of the journey as much as the joy of the destination.
I do believe you have an email.
And I have an email.
Shall we read it for the chat?
Which I'm going to read to the chat. This is from Emily Darkwood, and it reads, Alistair, do you remember Josh Fisher? We worked with him in Robinson's. Quiet guy. He's on Twitter now, and you've got to see his tweets. Poor Josh, I had no idea. Did you? And there's a link to Truth Fisher, his Twitter account, from Emily. P.S. We'll have to talk about the inauguration tomorrow, but he's gone! He's gone! I always liked you, Emily. So, I'm going to open the Twitter account, because it's a link, and as you're instructed. So we have Josh Fisher, Truth_Fisher, Survivor. I love the great outdoors. It's time for me to be free.
Just a heads up, folks, as we start to delve into the mystery side of things, we do have a couple of content warnings here for bullying and for threats of violence to children.
Yeah.
Just so you know, we'll put them in the chat a couple of times throughout the mystery.
We have the Twitter account in the chat. I'm going to read the tweets out as well, so you have multiple ways to get to them.
There's a lot of them. You might have to get picky after a while.
Okay. So, most recently, on January the 19th, Josh tweeted, I'm making cookies. I'll post a picture later. And he did, and they look pretty good. He's a fan of Staged, which shows he has excellent taste. I was watching that earlier.
Read that one about a smartwatch.
Yeah. I got a new smartwatch at the weekend. It's really not the best, but it's alright. It does text messages and photo messages, not calls. You can connect it to Wi-Fi to get some apps. It was cheap. I didn't want to jump in and get an expensive one when I've never even had one before. And moving backwards through his timeline, things do get a little dark. We have bullying isn't okay. I've done the right thing. It feels good to get this off of my chest. I've never told a lie, not about any of them. They're bullies. It's time I've said it. It's time I came out and named them all. The world needs to know what these psychopaths are like. And in fact, that is the end of a full-length thread, which I shall read. After school, my first job was stacking shelves at the local Robinson's Metro. Late nights, I'd put my headphones in and just get on with it. It wasn't too bad until my manager quit and a new one started. Colin Derry. He still works at Robinson's. He's a thug, racist, homophobe. I temped for years after Robinson's. It took a while to get going, but I liked it because I didn't like to feel trapped. Most of the office jobs, filing, data entry, headphone jobs, I called them. Wanted to keep my head down. They never paid well. They usually went okay. At the start of lockdown, I was working for a travel company, Globe Express. Tacky company, and I'm not surprised they went bust. For a while I got to do that from home. They let me go in November. November? I ask you. I started applying for jobs right away, and this afternoon I had my first interview. Online. It went okay at first. Halfway through, I felt something change. One of the people interviewing me was Clara Beck. The name seemed familiar, but the penny didn't drop at first. She worked out who I was before I worked out who she was. Clara Beck is Tristan Stanley's fiancée. I'll be honest, I only know this because I look at his Facebook page. We're not friends there or whatever, but it's public. I told you, social media is toxic. After the interview, I got a call from a hidden number. It was Clara. She was furious. She said there was no way I'd get the job, that the lies I'd told about Tristan had hung around Bryony like a fog, that he'd been having a terrible time getting them to go away. That I'd pay. I've never told a lie, not about any of them. They're bullies. It's time I said it. It's time I came out and named them all. The world needs to know what these psychopaths are like. So obviously, Josh is in some trouble.
I think we should look at some of these older tweets, maybe.
I think we should too.
Let's start at the very beginning chronologically.
I opened this account last year. Hold on.
Yeah, it looks like there's one earlier than that.
It's the I have stayed away from social media.
No, I think the one that I see that's oldest is ever since a child. No.
That looks at the end of a thread to me.
Yeah. There you go. All right, that's
Okay.
the thread.
I opened this account last year and did nothing with it. Now I'm going to. I'm going to do something. Ever since I was a child, I've had a bully. One after the other. I've decided that I'm going to name them and shame them. I'm done pretending. Why should I be nice? These people are bullies. I've had enough. My first bully was my stepdad. I was so young when my real dad died. I've never remembered him at all, but I remember Steve. Hardly fair, isn't it? Steve Bryant, Mum's ex-husband. He set the agenda for decades of a-holes. He was the prototype, the first of them. One of the worst of them. I went to Falcon Hill Primary School in Henley. My early memory is pretty patchy. I don't remember the names of the kids in my classes, but I do remember the names they call me. Oh, we have a text message that's come in. I should just check over here. It's from Josh. Is this Alistair? It's Josh. Josh Fisher. You've got to help me. I don't know where I am. Okay, so obviously we need to write back. What would you like me to write back? Think fast, chap. And yes, that was the Solid Snake noise. I'm going to respond with
appreciate the classics.
being really impressed by Margaret's touchscreen and saying, Josh, are you okay? What can you see?
Do you want me to type for you?
Please.
Okay. So chat, I'm going to be Alistair's fingers and respond to the chat messages from now on out. So we've written back, Josh, are you okay? What can you see?
While this is going on, I'll do another little bit of the Twitter thread. When I was older, Mum somehow talked Steve into sending me away to Bryony College. I didn't feel like I belonged there because I didn't. I never will. This is what it looks like these days.
I'm sorry. Why don't you finish the tweet and then just explain to the chat for folks who aren't from the UK what a college is.
Okay. Basically, the US and the UK have entirely different definitions of what private and public school means.
They're swapped.
Public school over here, confusingly, is private school, where you are sent away to an academy to learn important things which will help you in your life, and none of them ever help you in your life.
College does not mean university or a
No.
4-year post-high school education. It means the last couple of years of high school where you go to study for your exams. So think 10th through 12th grade Americans.
I had a few bullies at Bryony, but mainly Tristan Stanley. Even though I was in Heath Hall and Stanley was in Major, it didn't stop him finding me during the day. I lost count of how many times he sent me to the nurse, but I can tell you he sent me to the hospital twice. We have another message.
This one looks like a photo.
Yeah, we do. Can you put that in the chat?
I'm going to figure out how. Yeah.
That's a closed white door.
Folks, I'm not sure if you're actually going to be able to follow that. And Specky, that's terrifying. Let's see if it'll let you load that. No. All right.
I'm in a small room. The door is locked. There's no light, but whoever put me in here gave me a torch.
So we have a flashlight now. The photo we're looking at is just a white hallway with a white door with a brass lever.
And Josh is saying on text he has a torch and a paperback book.
Go Douglas. I'm sorry. That's so bad. What are we going to write back to to Josh? Should we ask him if we should call 911?
Actually, that's a good question. Does he have phone signal? You know, can he connect to an emergency line like that?
Okay. Josh, can you call
Also, what's the book?
police? So we're writing back to Josh. Josh, can you call the police? Do you have a signal? Now we have another photo. And then we should ask, what's the book? Next question. Also, what's the book? There's a bunch of literate folks in here, isn't he?
What's the book?
What's the book, Josh? It's our clip. We've received a second photo. I'm sorry I'm not able to share these with you. I don't know, mods, if there's a way for me to save these into... Maybe I can post these in Discord and the mods can save them. Let me try, okay?
That's a good call from Wendy. He's using the smartwatch.
I think he
can't call
is.
out.
Yeah. Mystery. All right, I'm going to try and save these photos, everybody, and see if I can get the mods to post them from our Discord. Oh, this is getting terribly complicated now. What's Josh saying?
We currently have as the most recent text message the other part of the room. He's in a cupboard. This is a very narrow room.
It looks like he may be locked in a cabinet or something. Oh, hush. All right, you want to keep reading through his Twitter thread, maybe?
Yeah. Mum divorced Steve when I was 13 or so. Was when I was 13, so I got out of Bryony and could go back home, back to Henley. I went to the Pegasus school. I started after the Easter break. The bullying started on day one. I was expecting it, but that didn't mean I was ready for it. And this was even though I was a big lad by then. I hit 6 feet quite a while before my 15th birthday. I wasn't exactly a beanpole either, but I didn't feel big. Not like that anyway. Never felt strong. Rain, just to answer your question, what I'm doing is reading the stuff from Josh's Twitter account, and we're also getting text messages coming in from him.
I'll put Josh's Twitter account in the thread again. I'm going to put Josh's Twitter thread in the chat again for folks. And Discord mods, I've uploaded the photos to our server. If you could pop those in for us, that would be great. Josh has gone silent. We're waiting for a response. So, Alistair, why don't you give us a quick recap of what we've discovered so far?
Okay, what we've discovered so far is that Josh, who's the guy who I used to work with, has something very bad has happened to him. He has been texting us from what seems to be a cupboard, and his Twitter account, which a joint friend pointed me at, has some very dark stuff on it about a lifetime of systemic bullying. And Compost Witch has also spotted this tweet. There were more bullies along the way. Their shameful names: Kieran Chappell, Ben Ford, Sarah Cronin, Eric Coates. Coates was in his 70s, probably a psychopath. The first person to call me fish guts in over 20 years. He found out my dad died when I was little and he weaponized it.
Okay, so right now we've got our friend Josh stuck somewhere, sending us messages on his watch. We received an email from Emily Darkwood, who seems to be someone that he did a job interview with, and she was the fiance of someone who also bullied Josh.
Who was one of his earliest bullies at school. Yeah.
What's the most recent tweet from Josh?
I'm making cookies. I'll post a picture later. This is an interactive game, Kiwi Jelly.
Now, Kiwi Jelly, we're solving a mystery game. Fantastic. Thanks, Ducky. Right.
Yeah.
So
And just to confirm, we have a tweet saying, I got a new smartwatch at the weekend. It's really not the best, but it's okay. It does text messages and photo messages, not calls.
No worries, Kiwi. Yes.
No worries, Kiwi.
Let's just remind everybody, we have a special guest with us tonight. Brendon Connelly is our guest, and Brendon is walking us through a mystery right now that we're trying to solve. We have a friend who appears to be locked in a closet, or locked in a house somewhere, and we're getting messages from them, but they've gone quiet. We haven't had a message in a little bit now. So I'm hoping they're okay. Oh, let's see if maybe they'll send us another message and let us know how they're doing. We asked Josh if they could call the police. Josh also mentioned that they were carrying a book, and we asked them what the book was because we love books. What can we say, chat? Dapper Cuttlefish reports, he says silver lining a lot. It's activating my ARG sensors, but not anything traditional mystery. But I figured I'd tell everyone. Okay. Interesting.
Still nothing through besides those two photos. Do you want to send him another question?
Yeah. Let's send him a message. Shall we just say, how you doing? Or are you still okay? All right, we've just sent him a message. We said, you okay? Oh, here we go. We've got a new picture. And a new message. Yes, that's the medical Starlight sound effect. Don't judge me.
The message reads, I woke up in this room. I don't know how I got here. I tried listening to the door and there are voices not right outside, not constantly. And the book is The Gift, the first book of Pelennor.
We'll get that photo over to you here really quick. Okay. Do we know anything about this book? Why do we always fascinate on the book? It's so us. So Josh can hear people and is locked in a room somewhere.
And it's also just asked us where he is.
I don't know. So you can see a room and he's got a book. It's like, should we ask him maybe to check?
Whether maybe there's anything concealed in the book, something like that.
Or a library stamp. Is he in a library?
Yeah.
Right, mods, that's image 3 coming to you now. All right.
Okay, so we have a question asking what are the people outside saying? And the other question, which I think might be worth raising, is, as you say, check the book to see whether there's a library card in it or any indicators, like a bookmark or a bus ticket or something. We also have an interesting one. Does the smartwatch have GPS?
Ah, that's a good question. Let's ask. Okay, so I'm sending back to Josh. Check the book. Is there anything in it, or does it have a library stamp? Yeah, I'm with Beastergen.
Yeah. Next
If
step
there are
is try
no
the door.
clues in the book, the next step should be to try the door. The other thing I would want to ask is, do the voices not outside, not front? Ooh, we've got some stuff in the book. New picture, folks.
Names.
Why don't you read those names while I get this photo uploaded?
Okay. So let's take a look. Let's cross-reference these names with the people who bullied Josh.
Why don't you read off the names for the
We
chat?
have repetitions of Sarah Cage over and over. SB plus KC forever.
Ooh, that's an initial.
And Kian. Yeah, and also there is the page torn out.
So, wait a minute, but you missed the most important thing here that a girl would, of course, pick up on, no offense. It says Mrs. Sarah Cage. Now, the only time a girl writes her name over and over and over again with Mrs. in front of it is when she has a crush on a boy. So, Cage is not Sarah's last name.
It's his.
Is my guess. It's
Yeah.
his last name, because also look at there's the mods have the photo right now, folks. They're about to send a link to the chat, but we've got a little SB plus KC forever with hearts thingy. That's true. It doesn't have to be a boy, Ocean, but traditionally it is, because she's writing her married name, not her maiden name, which is what I think is going on here. So
The only initial we have that checks out as SB is Steve Bryant.
Okay, and remind us what we know about Steve Bryant.
Steve Bryant was Josh's stepfather, who his mother divorced when he was 13.
What's his mom's name?
We don't have his mom's name.
What's Josh's name? Josh's name is Fisher.
Josh's name is Fisher.
And this would be mom's maiden name anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh, is that your mom's married name? So we've sent back to Josh. Josh, is that your mom's married name? Sarah Cage. Maybe Josh has gone back in time.
He's never heard of Sarah Cage.
Okay.
But as the chat's pointed out, we have a Sarah Cronin.
Do we have somebody with... Sorry, folks. We have a Kian, K-I-A-N.
K-I-A-N.
K-I-A-N Cage. Interesting.
Oh.
What?
On the off chance the missing page is the dedication page, the dedication only reads for Josh.
Where? Where's that?
In the chat.
Is this an actual copy of the book? Does somebody have an actual copy of this book?
Yeah. Oh.
A new message.
I can't see out of the room. I can't hear out of the room. I don't know anything that's outside of the room. Where am I? And we have that dedication confirmed.
Thank you so much. Well done, Ash.
Nice.
Nicely done.
I think the time might have come.
I think it's time to try the door.
Yeah. And yes, we clearly should. We have another text message that's just come in. If you can find me, maybe you can send the police to me.
Okay. Where do we think he is? Well, he's in a library with...
It's the school.
Do we think he's in the school?
I think he might be in the school. But we're going to need some more confirmation of that if it's all possible.
Okay. Let's tell him. We think you're in the school. How can we check? Do you hear kids playing?
We don't know. It's the library chat. We are in the middle of trying to figure that out. But the book and the decor kind of maybe suggest it.
That's true. If it's 11 p.m., he won't hear kids. I've said, oh, hold on. I'm trying to do like 8 things at once. What school? What school are you talking about? All right. What school did he go to, folks? Remind me. What did the Twitter thread say about a school that he went to?
Looking it up now.
Robinson's was where he worked.
Yeah. The Pegasus School.
We've written him back and asked. Or maybe Ryon.
We need to ask whether he's hurt.
Yeah. I've just asked, Josh, are you hurt? Can you maybe... I think Josh checked the door earlier, didn't we? Wasn't that one of his first messages that the door was locked?
Let me check on that.
The door's locked. There's no light, but whoever put him in there gave him a flashlight and a book. That's weird. Very Harry Potter under the stairs. Falcon Hall Primary. Well done, Ocean. Wow, this is a little tense, to be honest. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe he's at a hotel, but... Let's see. Is everybody doing okay so far? Like a note stuffed in the battery compartment. That would be classic. Let's see what people say. It's okay, everybody. Take a deep breath if you need to. We're all a little tense out, aren't we?
What if we had him read through the book to see whether there are any sections underlined? It's in there with him.
Okay. Let's ask anything else about the book. Papers stuffed in it. Earmarked pages. All right. So we've just asked Josh. Okay. No, I don't think we do know, Stitch, how he died, how his father died. We don't know where to send the police to yet. Yeah, we're waiting for a response about whether he's hurt or whether he's at one of these schools. Because we don't know where to send the police yet, Wendy. That's exactly why. Now we're all glued to our phones waiting for a text message. He has tried the door, Ocean. He reported it is locked.
Do you think you need to check your phones for these text messages? I think
We
you might
have
have been missing
asked
some.
if he's hurt. We're trying to get a response. It's all good. The carpet in image 2 looks like there's been something heavy moved. Oh, well spotted, Ducky.
Okay. We've had a couple of other
You
text
check
messages.
your phone. I think we've had some messages from Josh.
Thank you. We got a couple of messages coming in. Brownie is big. If I'm in Brownie and the police come looking, I hope they know where in the school I am. I don't know whoever locked me in here to panic. I'm groggy. I'm not hurt. I don't know how I got here. The last thing I remembered was getting my cookies out this morning, pouring a glass of milk, and then... Okay. The only thing marked in the book seems to be the writing inside the front cover that I showed you.
Where are you getting these?
They're in the... No problem. We have a little bit of a communication thing that needs to be modified.
But we got new messages, right?
Yeah.
I'm easy to please.
So the messages that have come in are... Brownie is big. If I'm in Brownie and the police come looking, I hope they know where in the school I am. I don't want whoever locked me in here to panic. I'm groggy. I'm not hurt. I don't know how I got here. The last thing I remember was getting my cookies out this morning, pouring a glass of milk, and then... The only thing marked in the book seems to be the writing inside the front cover that I showed you. There was a reference in his Twitter account to something involving the milk. Let me just go back to that.
Yeah, well remembered, everybody.
And yeah, there's a couple of people going, it's the milkman. So...
Yeah, it definitely is starting to sound like someone has tampered with his milk.
Okay, hold on. So many open windows. Silver
lining was important. I'm not totally
Me going
broken.
back to having
Well
a milkman
done,
and getting my milk
Dapper.
in glass bottles with tinfoil tops is another good thing that came out of the pandemic. Silver tops equals silver lining. His milkman's drugged him.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Or he's getting his, as Wendy says, he's getting his milk doorstep delivered easy to tamper with, not necessarily by the delivery. So we need to ask the name of his milkman. Okay.
So our job is to try and figure out where
he is.
Let's see. Let's look at the photos a little bit more. People are like, I feel like this was
He can't see through the walls, hear through the walls. He has no GPS.
All right, he's in some place with a book that's been written in and had the dedication ripped out. But that doesn't tell us anything about where he is. He can hear voices. He's in a locked closet. What about, can he maybe look under the crack in the door or through the doorknob?
Through the keyhole.
Can he look through the keyhole?
Look through the keyhole. Let's take a look, as you say. Let's take another look at those photos.
It looks like something's been moved out of one of these spaces. I agree. I'm pretty sure he would have mentioned if there's a window by now. We'll have to ask lots of questions about where he's getting milk delivered from after we figure this out. Thank you very much, Duck Pond. I appreciate it.
That's carpet.
It is carpet. Yeah.
And it's a very small room.
It's a small room with carpet. He's got a smartwatch that lets him send messages, but nothing else. Let's see. Should we ask him to look through the keyhole or under the door?
Yeah, let's do that.
Right. We've asked Josh if he can look under the door or through the keyhole. Let's see. We have another picture, chat. It's a close-up of the lock on the door. Hang on. Let me get this moving on over for you. Oh my gosh, this is so tense now.
Plus, it's absolutely teeming down outside.
It's very atmospheric now that it's pouring rain. Exactly. Let's see. There's no keyhole. I can only see light under the door. There's a room on the other side. That's all I know. Huh.
Hold on.
Oh, we missed a message earlier. It says, I don't have my phone. All I have is my smartwatch. I texted you because your number is so memorable, seeing as it's your birthday.
We're also being hit with a little bit of a time delay on some of these DMs, I think.
Yeah.
What Wi-Fi network is it connected to?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's another good idea. Can you pull up some of the carpet, maybe?
That was going to be my next suggestion. So, the smartwatch is very limited in functionality. It can't place calls. It doesn't have GPS.
Right, but
does
he's going to pick up Wi-Fi.
Yes, so if it can pick up Wi-Fi, then we should be able to find out what the name of the network it's connected to is, which unless it's Senor Nacho's Wi-Fi cheese hat, might give us an indicator.
Oh, here we go.
Eden.
I tried connecting to Wi-Fi. There's only one network. It's called Eden. Okay, now I'm starting to think we're in a church. The network name is
Eden 38.
Eden 38. Yeah, that's not creepy, right? Okay. Sounds like a church. Hang on a second. I'm scrolling back because I'm getting these somewhat out of order. Sorry, chat, we're all thinking really, really hard.
Thank you for the heads up on that, Beastrogen.
What's going on?
Bistrogen has just said, don't Google Eden38. It's an unrelated 2015 Twitter account and a lot of not safe for work links.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much for that.
Okay, so I've got two ideas at this point, and both of them are slightly odd. Silvercolor suggested that we DM his phone to see who has it.
Zalia says, I think he's in the school. The houses in the school are named after UK PMs. All right, remember from the
Zalia.
Twitter thread? Oh, you're brilliant, Zalia. Well done. Which school is that?
Looking backwards now.
Which school was it, chat? Bryony.
Bryony College.
Okay. Josh.
Okay, we should tell him.
Are you in Bryony? The houses are named after PMs, right? Are you in a room in the Eden house? Room 38? Because that was the link, right?
Eden38, that's a network sign.
Zalia, you're freaking brilliant. Well done. Is there a prime minister whose last name was Eden?
Anthony Eden.
Okay. How would I know that? So if we send the police to Eden House in Bryony, do you think that would work, chat? Yeah, but he did say Bryony's big and he doesn't want to spook the kidnapper, so we need to be short. That's why I think if we send him to, well, can we send the police to wherever you can get a Wi-Fi signal from Eden 38 in Bryony? I do not, Ocean. I do not know UK Prime Minister, so I am very thankful to Zalia for this.
We are currently caught up on messages, aren't we?
I believe so, yeah. All right, so we've got, the only other thing I can think of is asking him if he recognizes the carpet.
Josh has sent you an SMS. Very
Is it time
important.
for contacting the authorities? I love it.
Oh.
You checking through his Twitter account again to see?
Yeah, and I'm... Oh. I don't have anything new. I'm at the top of the GM thread.
Okay. That's fine.
The last SMS I got is the network name is Eden38.
Yeah, same here. Josh, buddy, you okay? Yeah, the last message I have is the network name is Eden38. So maybe it's on the way. And it's just slowing down. He says there's a room on the other side of the store. That's all I know. So my guess is he's in a closet somewhere in Eden House.
Twitter's
I
done a
think we
lot
used to
of
work
bad
with him,
things in the
Ocean.
last few years, but this delay is probably my least favourite.
And he remembers our phone number because apparently it's our birthday or something. I'm still very sus about Emily, what's her name, who sent us this email in the
Just
first
because her
place.
second name is Darkwood.
Yes, that's not at all fishy.
I can tell you what the SMS says, if that might work a little bit better.
Go on.
It says, "That's it. You cracked it. I'm in the dorm at Eden House at Bridie College. Send the police. Send the police."
Fantastic. We've just had the next message through. It reads, "That's it. You've cracked it. I'm in the dorm at Eden College. Send the police."
Woohoo! Yay! We did it! Oh my gosh, that was terribly tense.
That was fun. Yes. He's alive. He's alive.
Exactly, but okay, who did it?
So, Brendon,
Yes.
is there more, or are we done?
You've solved the mystery. Now, there were several clues that you didn't pick up on, and there were several that you did a very good job of picking up on.
Okay.
You have solved the mystery. Josh Fisher is in a closet in a dorm room in Eden House at Bryony College, and the contributions of Zalia in your chat were absolutely tremendous and clearly instrumental to Team Escape Artists.
Fantastic.
Lots of sort of side plot clues there that you did pick up on. The milk and the silver top milk, and the milk being the way that the knockout drug was administered. Yes. The relationship between the writing inside the book and it being a library book, and therefore the page being torn out, removing where the stamps or the sticker for the library would have been
Of course.
attached. Which confirms it's a book from a school in some way. There are various clues in there that tell you, actually, if you read closely, that Tristan now works at Bryony College. Also, so there's more backstory. If people go and they sift through the thread, there's actually quite a few layers of things woven in that will tell you a little bit more about the backstory of this. But you did solve the mystery. Josh Fisher is in Bryony College in Eden House.
This was brilliant. Thank you so much.
No, not at all.
And I just, as you were talking about, seeing something like this configured for this format is really, really cool. And yet, our chat right now is going, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and doing the digital equivalent of drawing red lines between facts, doing all that good stuff. Brendon, do more of these. These are great.
These are fun.
Well, I mean, finding a place for them to go is the thing, right? And I'm lucky enough to be your guest here tonight, and I knew you'd enjoy this. So this is a great place for it to go. I knew there'd be people in the chat who could contribute, but these, they can't go everywhere. Do you know what I mean? There are special hosts for this. It's very much a bespoke mystery, I think, this one. And the idea that the Twitter threads, you sort of break up the continuity, right? And people can read separate bits of it, and certain bits can seem to be in order, but you've got to thread those bits. You've got to move back and forth. Gives a chance for a group of people to contribute things they've seen through it.
Yeah.
So I think worked very well tonight, and people were coming back to you with things that they'd found in the thread. And I've got to say, there were some great contributions from the chat tonight.
That was really, really cool. That and I mean, I've only ever done one escape room, but that very thing, that kind of, you spot something someone else doesn't, they spot stuff that you don't. The concept of overlapping expertise is absolutely what this brought out.
And within escape room, it can be very much about ciphers and codes and numerical puzzles. I wanted to make this narrative. Obviously, the similarity between the prime minister's names, noticing those and Eden having two meanings, sort of the edges on that sort of stuff. But often that's the way it works in a mystery story.
Yeah.
Anyway, really. I wanted to make this as sort of real world narrative as possible. And I hope that if people do want to spend 5 minutes going back and having a look over Josh's tweets, they will find a few other little threads that do join up.
Please do. Yeah, I certainly will. Yeah, I mean, I knew you were brilliant before, but this genuinely has confirmed that there is another.
come on.
Hush now. There's another level of narrative genius going on here. What are you working on at the moment?
What can I say and what can I not say?
Indeed.
I can say I'll tell you what I can say about one project because it's very short, and then we can move on to something else. What I can say about one project is I'm working with the brilliant David Devereaux at Tin Can Audio.
Amazing.
And David, they are producing the pilot for a sci-fi mystery series. And all things being equal, this sci-fi mystery will be in people's podcatchers later this year, and it's got robots in it, and it stars or will star the brilliant Sally Walker Taylor, and it's set in the future.
Yeah, all of
not
this
very
is,
far into the future at all.
All of this is working very well for me. Thank you.
And David's fantastic. And the pilot is one of those very hard to do pilots. It's a real challenge, and I sort of know that it's a fastball coming at David, and what's going to happen is they're going to absolutely smash it out of the stadium here.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to hear the finished pilot very soon. I don't know if David was hoping to be with us in the chat tonight, but the mystery has taken us past the 11 o'clock hour, so I think we've run a little late. But well, let's talk about that again at a later date. But that's
Definitely.
a really fun, and it's a mystery because one of the things that dawned on me when I did Circles is that there wasn't a clear question, right? So the question we had tonight is, where is Josh Fisher? And I think you can hang a lot on that. You can revolve around that. You can get a lot of gravity out of spinning around that, right? And I really wanted to tell a story where there was a clear question. And this project, Solus, called Solus, and people can follow the Twitter feed Solus Podcast at Solus Podcast. If you'd be so kind to put that in the after show notes, that would be lovely. To find out when it's coming along. There are already a few hints and clues as to what it might actually be. I can't stop giving people clues to things even when I'm just running a Twitter feed, but there are some double meaning hints and clues in the Twitter feed there already. So Solus with Tin Can Audio, the pilot is in the works right now, and
fantastic.
All things being equal, be along.
Excellent. There's also Circles, which you touched upon, that
there is also Circles,
which is a superbly well done horror audio drama. Which, if you're looking for something which is very, very kind of neatly put together and compartmentalized, and which isn't the kind of Magnus, you'll listen to 200 episodes of this. I keep coming back to Circles. It's just a ludicrously tight piece of writing. You did such a good job with that.
You also happen to have a cameo.
It's finite, right? So the comparison you give there, Magnus is colossal. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's Greater London scale. but Circles is on a much smaller scale. It's 4 episodes and it's completely wrapped in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yep. And it also contains my favourite, hardest to find cameo I have ever done.
But you're in there.
I'm in there.
I'm really pleased you're in there.
I'm in one episode.
I really wanted you in there, and there were these two forces at work, and one was like, I can't just put a part in for the sake of having a part in and damaging the story. So it meant that your part was small, really.
That's fine.
But it's there.
It's fine. So you've got Solus. There's other stuff I take it that's in the works that you would prefer not to talk about.
Well, it's so much I can't, like anything. There's 2 statuses, Alistair. One is that I can talk about it, but who knows if anything's ever going to become of it. So there's all the stuff that I'm working on. I'd be happy to talk about some of those things. And then there's some things where maybe something will happen because it's in the sort of position where you can't talk about it. Although it is. But I will say a lot of what I write is mystery.
Yeah.
Stuff. Pretty much everything's got some sort of twist. So on a level, it's like a mystery. Do you know what I mean? On a level, it's like a mystery. Whether you know it was a mystery when you're listening to it or watching it or reading it or not. And uh, other than that, I'm quite agnostic in terms of the medium or the genre, I suppose, really. So I'm very keen to get some comic stuff done. So I've been scripting and pitching some comic stuff, and I found some with your help, actually. Sometimes some great comics out there that I've been pitching towards, and who knows if any's gonna become of those. But the little time twister or future shock sort of story.
Yeah.
I've been writing a whole bag of those, and that's fun. And it's a good writer's gym as well to write a bunch of those. And if there's anyone listening to this now who's a great comic book artist, just thinking, I need a writer, I'm the other side of that coin. Just be in touch. I really want to do more comics. I think actually, in the way that I spent a couple of years playing with audio and really getting my feet under the table and getting into it, and now I feel like that's it. That's part of what I do now. That's going to be something I do forever. I'd love to get the comic book plate spinning as well and have that vernacular, something that I always come back to.
I think you're heading in absolutely the right direction on that, because the folks that you're working with, just as a quick kind of cultural context for chat members in the US, Future Quake is a very long-running UK indie comic which specialises in what is called Future Shocks. Future Shocks are one-off short stories which 2000 AD, the science fiction anthology comic that has birthed multiple generations of professional comic writers and artists in the UK, run as little one-offs, like I say. It's the best possible way to describe it is, imagine Planet of the Apes in 8 pages, where he lands, assumes it's not Earth, and then at the end it is, and he's like, "You did it!" And that's a Future Shock. Yeah, spoiler alert, just in case.
Twilight Zone's in 5 pages, basically.
Twilight Zone in 5 pages is absolutely the way to describe it, and most of them tend to be SF. I think some of them are horror, some of them very rarely fantasy. But yeah, that's a really, really strong community, and you'll.
There's some great people doing work on some of these.
Oh God, yeah.
So I've been pitching these guys. Who knows? I've written a few TV pilots recently. Again, sort of mystery stuff. I've got a lovely murder mystery feature film script, which my 2 touchstones for it, on the one hand was Agatha Christie, and the other one was Jim Henson. And it's a story that can only be told with puppet animals. There's no other could not tell this story with you. It must be puppet animals to tell this story. And that's a country house murder mystery, and the genre mutates and twists as it goes on. And I'm very proud of that one. And I don't see a lot of people making puppet movies at the moment. I don't see a lot of people rushing out to make, huge, cast of 10 Muppets in a country house movie. But if they do, have I got the screenplay for them?
I will be laying I will be laying sacrifices at all the right altars for that, because Muppet Gosford Park is something the world needs.
That's a very, very good way of pitching it. Yeah. Until it isn't. It changes to something else. Yeah.
Fantastic. Brendon, please come back on the show again, because you're amazing.
My pleasure.
And this
of course I will.
And this has been huge fun. We need to wrap up for the first half, but thank you for enabling us in detecting Josh and helping him out. And
you did a great job.
And thanks, man. Seriously, the work you do never ceases to inspire me and bring me joy. Thanks for it.
Well, it's just lovely to catch up with you. We don't speak often enough. If we've got to do it in public, we've got to do it in public.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much, Brendon. And,
not at all. Speak soon.
Will do.
Bye.
Folks, that was the amazing Brendon Connelly. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, let's go into the woods. Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
And on behalf of Josh, thank you. First off, massive thanks to the amazing Brendon, who is one of the most inspiring and prolific writers I know. And I'm always awed because every time I talk to him, he's doing a new thing. And that was really, really good fun. Also,
Is that the boy?
the boy, the Chungus is very well. And because of all the fancy coats at the inauguration, he thought he'd put on one of his fancy hats. Thank you, Wendy. Chungus is wearing a Wendell's original. Should we just jump straight into the spoops?
Oh, I just forgot. I didn't put the sound effect on this screen, so I was just trying to make the noise and it didn't work. Oh well.
We have the last two pieces of Search and Rescue for you. And should we just go into the woods?
Yeah, hold on just a second though. Let's give everybody a moment to remind themselves about the content warnings for these
Content
couple
warning.
stories.
Search and Rescue stories contain swearing, body horror, descriptions.
Descriptions?
I'm a writer.
Descriptions. You word
Descriptions
good.
of corpses and death of children. And these are very good, but these are very, very intense stories, which is why we have some brain sorbet for you after these are done. Do we have my hat to hand? Because I would hate to disappoint Wendy.
No, it's buried in with the Halloween decorations I put away. I'm really sorry, Wendy. I'll have to remember that for next time.
It's alright, I'll wear it next time.
Yes, that's correct. Just a reminder.
Rank and Vile in the house!
Ah, fantastic! Hey, Rank, how you doing?
Okay.
Well timed.
Can it be brain gelato if we're not a fan of sorbet? Yes, it's stickier.
All right, and on
Anyway.
that note,
For those of you who haven't done these before, in addition to the content warning, Search and Rescue is a loose constellation of stories written by an author called Kerry Hammond. They all concern the breakdown of reality and the predatory things that exist in that broken down reality in American national parks. And I'll focus in particular on the local search and rescue specialists and the culture of denial and it's very heavily implied constructed culture of denial, which has stopped them talking about just what is going on. We've done these on and off for a year. They are incredible stories, frankly. They're horrifying, deeply unsettling, and the kind of awful thing about it is that they were adapted for season 3 of the very good and much missed Crispy Pasta Creepypasta TV show, Channel Zero. But unfortunately, that meant the copyright has now been sold, which means the novel that Hammond was assembling, for the time being at least, nothing can be done with. So this is what we have, and it's a lot. I am an SAR officer. Update 1. Been a while, hasn't it? I know everyone says it, but time has this really strange way of flowing when you are an adult. I guess I'm at that age where I'm in between being a kid and getting old. Or maybe that's your entire life. In between things. It's summer now, which means we're dealing with a massive influx of people in the parks. We are an incredibly popular camping destination because of our large amount of campsites in various scenic areas, and in the summer season, those camps are almost always operating at almost to full capacity at any given time. Now, we're well staffed, and all of us know what to look for, what to expect. We have teams standing by in the event of any kind of emergency, and even so, people still manage to slip away. In response to a couple of other incidents at the same site, we installed a camper near the entrance, and a ranger stays up there every night. We rotate, so everyone spends one night a week there. I chose Wednesdays, as those tend to be pretty low-key, with only our long-term guys around. This particular day had been humid, like the inside of a locked car. All of us were honestly pretty miserable, but the camper had a small AC unit, and the campers and I took turns sitting in it until the sun went down. We all bedded down, and I had the AC turned up as high as it would go. And now this thing is loud, so I had earplugs in. The camper is tiny, but comfortable, and I fell asleep pretty quickly. I woke up in total silence, and it took me a full minute to realize that was the problem. The AC had stopped. There was absolutely no sound outside. I sat up, and the sheets didn't make any noise. I clapped. Nothing. I yelled. Nothing. This has happened to me before. I'm a firm believer that it's some kind of strange acoustical phenomenon, but I don't think it's caused by the wind, so I got out of bed and yanked on my boots and flew out the door. I ran to the edge of the campsite, about 500 feet away, and somewhere behind the trees there was something darker than the space around it. I headed for it, but I must have misjudged its distance because it took longer to get there than it should have. They'd split a tree in half. I'd seen lightning do that a few times, but not this cleanly. This cut was surgical. The bushes underneath it had been crushed. I could faintly make out the shape of something furry, a raccoon, I suspected. The intestines bursting out of its eye sockets were already attracting flies. The stairs were concrete, old. I could make out the lines of graffiti on the lower steps. A metal handrail bowed out haphazardly. Most of the supports bent or gone 10, maybe 12 steps. In a rush, the sound of the world came back, and I heard the faint electrical snap of a fly exploding near my ear. I sprinted back to camp. I grabbed the rifle out of the pickup I had taken to the site, and I stood at the edge of the camp, my back to the woods, and I stood there and I watched until the sun came up. I watched the whole camp. I watched every tent. I know I never fell asleep and no one came into or out of camp, so I really don't know how the woman got away. Her tent was in my direct line of sight. As best as I can guess, she must have gotten out when I was turned away for a second. They're hopeful she's still alive, of course, but I think we'll have to close that part of the park for a while. Officially, we're keeping an eye on things. I wouldn't take comfort in that. We're keeping an eye on a lot of things. Edit. I've been getting a lot of messages about the length and quality of this post. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's not as detailed or as long as my past updates. I wrote it in the middle of the night after getting home from an emergency at the park, which I will discuss later. I needed to vent a bit, I guess. Perhaps I should have waited to write all this down when my mind and my memory were a bit clearer. I'll do my best to make the next update more interesting. And now it is time for significant tea, which is too hot. Update 2. I am on call 24 hours a day now. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it pays the bills, and sometimes they let me leave early or take a few extra days off if I'm tired. There's not that much going on at night, of course, but occasionally one of us has to run out and deal with something, an animal sighting, missing person, drunk people shooting each other, that sort of thing. All in all, I get called out about a dozen times a month for some kind of nighttime emergency. Generally, the calls will go something like this. A text and phone call from my boss. 15 minutes to get out the door dressed in my uniform. 30 to work. Then anywhere from 5 minutes to 8 hours dealing with the issue. If it's a missing person, the cops are involved up to 2 days with no sleep. The worst ever was a murder-suicide. That took a week. By the end of it, I was in hospital with severe fatigue and dehydration. My boss knows I'll pick up as soon as he calls, but I don't always hear text. Usually he'll text first in case I'm up, but otherwise he will get me on the phone. He is the only one who contacts me. in these situations. That's always been our system in the past. So you can imagine my surprise when I got a call from him at 2 in the morning and saw I had 70 missed texts from just about every single person in our department. Yeah, what's up? I said, sitting up. I am great at faking being awake when I'm on the phone, by the way. Fleetwood Trail, South Entrance is bad. Don't worry about your clothes, just get here. He was breathing heavy and he didn't wait for me to finish my greeting. What's up? I was concerned now. My boss is unflappable. Get here, it's bad. Of course, I immediately thought of the murder-suicide. It took us days to find all the pieces of their skulls. How bad? KD's on her way. Call when you figured it out. He hung up. He'd never sent another ranger up before me. I scrolled through the barrage of texts. Oh man, OMG, Russ, what the hell is going on? Dude, what the fuck? I'm sorry. What's going on out there? Call me. Call boss's name right now. OMG. I threw my clothes on and was out the door in about 5 minutes. The drive took about 15 minutes, going 90 on the freeway, and along the way my phone just kept pinging notifications. I turned it off, tossed it in the back seat. When I got there, KD was waiting for me, and there was something about her face that was just wrong. In the non-existent light, I had to get close to see that she was wearing a respirator. The smell was like a wall. I ran into it about 5 feet from her and gagged. I took the respirator she handed me and strapped it on, coughing and doubled over. Bad, huh? She quipped, her voice muffled. She patted me on the back. Come on. I followed her into the forest, and even behind the filters I could smell it. Believe me, it bothers me as much as it does anyone else when people say that something is indescribable, but I really do not know how to paint an accurate picture of what it was like. Imagine taking a fish and filling it full of other dead fish. Put the stuffed fish in a bag, which has been made out of the skin of even more dead fish, and leave the bag sitting in the sun for several days. Sprinkle some halitosis, maybe a little rotting grass on top of the bag, let it sit for another few days. Now open the bag and stick your head inside and take a nice big breath. That should give you an idea of what it was like from half a mile away. It was hard to be heard through the respirators, so we didn't talk much while we walked. Neither of us really wanted our mouths open anyway, truth be told. I kept thinking about how smells are composed of particulate, and a few times I had to stop and lift the respirator up to spit and to dry heave. Katie slapped me on the back, almost knocking me off balance and sending my spit flying. Gross, huh? She said, half shouting. Don't worry, it's only worse from here. I gave her a... and we kept going. She'd taken the van with our on-site equipment inside, and she'd been there long enough to have carted a couple of portable spotlights to the scene. As we crested a hill, I could see them shining on something. Something huge. The top of the thing crested out of the trees in places. This just huge grey behemoth. I showed her a look, but she just grinned and waved me ahead. The smell was thick enough now to almost be visible, and something crunched under my feet. The bird I'd crushed was still alive, and it raised one wing weakly, and I crushed its skull and moved on. But there were others. They remained where they'd fallen, their sides heaving, and an occasional wing raised and dropped. Smell got him, I think, Katie said, kicking a bird off the bark. There's a raccoon up here, too. Took one bite and died. It was hilarious. Come look. I stepped around the birds, and the light filtered through the trees, shining on their little oil drop eyes. We're getting a buffer report.
Like, I'm not quite sure what's causing it.
Yeah, I got a red light here, too.
Folks, we're going to pause for just just a second and see if...
We get to do the stinky bird bit again.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, we're back up on green. Cool.
Okay, there we go, folks. We're going to back up just a little bit.
Smell got him, I think, KD said, kicking a bird off the path. There's a raccoon up here, too. Took one bite and died. It's hilarious. Come and look. I stepped around the birds and the light filtered through the trees, shining on their little oil drop eyes. The path straightened up and I could see that the hulking fucking thing, whatever it was, had fallen right across it about 300 yards ahead. I broke into a jog and KD kept pace. I went as close as I could until the smell was just too much, and then I just stood while KD kept going. She kicked the thing, spread her arms out, taking it all in. The way she'd illuminated it, only parts were really visible. It rose up an impenetrable wall and disappeared into the tops of the trees. The sporadic yet careful lighting gave it an almost reverent quality, like an artifact on display, and either way I looked, it stretched into the dark. Katie walked the length of it to my right until I could barely make her out. I craned my head up and could just see the edge where it curved and dipped back down. I forced myself closer to the rubbery surface of the thing. It was greyish, darker in the light, and the surface was scarred and stippled with white marks. KD came down and walked to the left. "Come here," she called. I followed, my eyes never leaving the corpse. We walked. Kept walking. A hand sometimes brushed the thing, and up ahead now I could see something sticking out of the side of the wall. Know what it is now? I could hear that she was grinning, enjoying the mystery. It was some kind of thick flap. Huge, bigger than both of us combined. One side was attached to the thing. It hung to the ground where it rested in the dirt. At the place where the flap joined the wall, there were strange protrusions. Ignoring the smell now, I looked closer. There were many of them, in various sizes, small, grainy craters. And that's when the pieces fit together and I backed off, stumbling over myself and almost falling into the dirt. Katie lifted the pectoral flipper with great effort. Imagine how strong they have to be to move these things. Oh man, wish it still had its tail. I ran forward and kept going until above my head I could see something reflecting the light, just barely. Something liquid and glassy, just beginning to fog with bacteria and decay. The mouth was slightly open. The algae in the baleen was beginning to rot. Suddenly there was a loud wheezing exhale and the thing moved just slightly. The mouth opened, showing more of the slimy, putrid baleen. From somewhere far down on the other end there was a creak and a thud I felt, rather than heard. Holy shit, Katie whispered. I thought it died an hour ago. You feel that? Still trying. The milky eye moved to look at me, and there was another, weaker exhale. And as we stared at each other, the whale opened its mouth a little more, closed it, and died. The light left the blind eye, and the entire corpse sagged. And it let off even more of that horrific stench, and Katie was still talking. It's another of those clean cuts, right through the whole back of it. If you go around the other side, it's missing that fin and a big slice of its skin, but the tail is totally gone. I couldn't break away. Couldn't stop looking into the cataract that was forming, all the bacteria now free to multiply and turn everything to liquid. Through the baleen, I could just make out the bulk of the tongue, and it was already losing colour, already being eaten from the inside. And then I ran as far as I could before I doubled over, and I vomited. Katie came over and patted my back. When it was over, I wiped my mouth and put the respirator back on. Now I went back to the corpse and began walking the length of it, shutting off every light. I couldn't stand to see it lit so beautifully. I honestly don't even know who to call, said Katie. Down at the other end, I could see the clean slice, where the tail had been taken off. No boat propeller would have done that, but that was no surprise. I knew what had. I wondered how big they had been. Down there in the deepest dark where only whales could go. You see, it answered a theory I had for some time. The stairs were impartial. Deep down in my gut, there was a glassy, obsidian panic that was so familiar now as to be unnoticeable, except when more weight was added, and suddenly, more than anything, I wanted to be home in the dark. So I told KD who to call, what to do, so that I could hand her my respirator and begin the walk back to my truck. Never once looking back at the corpse cresting the trees, the top of it growing its own forest of dark birds, feasting. We're going to say nothing. Nothing. We're just going to leave it to rot. We'll say a waterspout sucked up fish from one of the lakes and dumped them out there, and when the bones are the only thing left, we'll dispose of them and the trail will reopen. I drove back home and went to bed. And there we go.
That's literally where it ends?
That's where it ends.
That poor fool has failed their sand roll.
With the clear implication that the stairs are hunting oceanically as well.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Josh is not well. KD is completely gone at this point.
What a bleak place to end.
There's an implication, if you assemble these in a certain format, that the overall story is actually about the veil just completely breaking. That as time goes on, more and more events are happening. The park rangers are put on under more and more stress, and that eventually everyone is just going to see that society is a careful illusion, and when you take 3 steps outside the bonfire, there's really horrible things waiting for you out there.
I just have so many questions about not only how a staircase could take out a whale, but how the whale could then get to the forest.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I also love the double blind that you come into this and you're like, oh, this is going to be some kind of Stephen King lobstrosity situation. And the fact that it's familiar actually makes it worse.
I do agree with most of the chat who are looking around for the pot of geraniums. So
yes.
Glad to say we have some.
Ow,
old school science fiction.
Ground. That's it, ground. I wonder if it'll be friends with me.
Splat. Exactly.
The stairs do clipping.
Should we have some brain sorbet after all of that?
Let's have some lovely brain sorbet.
What do we have for this week?
We have, from Voluntary Insanity on Tumblr, The Magnus Archives, badly summarized. Season 1. Traumatized researcher uses skepticism as a coping mechanism. Season 2. Area man does quickest 180 from skepticism into paranoia, predictably making everything worse. Season 3. Local murder suspect kidnapped far too many times.
Where is this accent coming from?
David.
Stop it.
Season 4. Resident demigod too busy pining after co-worker to stop the apocalypse.
Really?
Season 5. Gay couple forced to take their honeymoon through the 9 circles of hell.
Accurate.
No lie detected.
Right? Absolutely. Oh, good. Wendy's is like, yay, finally Alistair's corpsing. Oh, after that we need it, right?
And thank you for putting up the Alex-approved shenanigans. This is from, what is a blogger? A miserable little pile of obsessions. Peter. No, Jonah, no. I'm not paying for you to have the entire interior of the Institute covered with thousands of hand-carved eyes inlaid with gold and emeralds. Jonah, his eye is enormous. You disown Jonah? You throw him out onto the street to live destitute and starving? Oh, jail! Jail for Peter! Jail for Peter for 1,000 years!
I love that meme. Read the hashtags on that one.
Hashtag humor, hashtag lonely eyes, hashtag the Magnus Archives, hashtag my brain. Yes, clearly these two are perfect candidates for a joke based on the Miette the cat meme. Hashtag TMA crack, hashtag my post.
Thank you.
Oh, and also hashtag Peter Lucas and Jonah Magnus, two of the best written and performed and most interesting and compelling antagonists I have ever come across.
Was that a self 5?
Self 5 for the big dog.
Thank you. That's totally going to be a clip you realize.
And this is also from What is a Blogger? A Miserable Little Pile of Obsessions. Also, can we discuss how Gertrude had to submit a "Please may I murder my assistant" form to Elias Bouchard, who was like, "Fine, I don't care what you do, just don't get blood in my archives."
Read some of the responses to that one, too.
Yeah, some of the responses are great. It was a
There's a
trivial
thread there.
matter to convince the man who now watched from the skull of Elias Bouchard to allow it, so long as the deed did not take place within the archives itself. Oh my god, you're right. I totally forgot this bit. Wow. Listen, Elias may be an evil eldritch monster determined to end the world, but I think he genuinely does like paperwork. And cake. So what I'm saying is there's absolutely a "Please may I murder my assistant" form.
I would create a "Please may I murder my assistant" form.
To which someone has responded, "Oh, the comforting rigour of bureaucracy. It would be so funny if he just had a form for everything." And finally, listen, having a form for everything would absolutely fit his style and sense of humour. Every time an employee comes into his office to ask about something unexpected, Elias hands them a hyper-specific form he has just finished typing up and acts as though, "Of course we have a form for this."
What are the hashtags on this one?
Hashtag Elias using his beholding powers for exactly the three things: ending the world, finding cake, and trolling. Hashtag the Magnus Archives is an office comedy, but Jonah Magnus is the only one laughing.
That's a good one. And then a bunch of other standard ones.
Yes.
Oh, those are brilliant. Wow, fast done, Haven. Nice, thank you so much. Assuming mods count as assistants, please do not make a "Please may I murder assistants" form. All right, you're talking to somebody who likes to fill out forms and plays Paranoia, so yeah, I like paperwork as well.
Yeah,
It's
she finds it
comforting.
restful. And that's what we have for you, folks. Pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. Why don't you let folks know what's coming up in the next week?
Firstly, I would just like to assure everybody that we will not be murdering our mods, because our mods are fantastic.
That is correct. We have sent lovely little Valentine's Day presents to all of our mods.
Yes, we have.
John has to fill out a "no longer deceased" form. It is distinct from the "no longer legally declared deceased" form. Of course it is.
And then he's handed a brochure with, "So, you've escaped from a coffin."
There would... Oh, wow. In straight up Outer Worlds dystopian marketing
If you're
department.
upset, you can rent an apology.
Oh, we need to get you to do that on TikTok at some point, I think.
Yes, we do. And also, thank you. I'll put it in the show notes because people are like, "What?" There is a very, very good game rapper called the Stupendium, who does these wonderful, massively well-produced videos and very, very clever songs about video games he's playing. He's done like an unofficial EP of Animal Crossing ones, including a salute to is it Blathers, the owl.
Yeah.
The unofficial hero of
He also has an amazing Among Us song.
yeah, the Among Us song is fantastic. The Outer Worlds one is superb. I'll put the Outer Worlds one in the show notes. And yeah, the song, the one for Control is fantastic. He has this incredible eye for lyrics. There's a reference in the Control one to "telephony in effigy," which is just a perfect phrase.
Lovely phrasing. Yeah.
So,
Oh, well done, Talia. Thank you so much.
thank you, Zolia. We will be back on Sunday when we will continue with Deliver Us the Moon, where we will investigate what happened to the moon power station that was transmitting power to Earth. And, yeah.
And maybe not dying from lack of oxygen.
Maybe not dying from lack of oxygen. That'll be 10 till 12. And like I say, we'll be doing Deliver Us the Moon, which is basically...
Okay, which is very distinct and different from Moon Deliverance. You're welcome for that setup.
Again, which in this house has been semi-officially renamed Moon's Haunted. And then next Wednesday, we'll be back here from 10 p.m. doing something new.
Something. We're not quite sure what yet.
We have a couple of candidates which aren't quite locked in, but one of them will be before next week. Yeah. And then we will do a thing, and it will be good.
That's right.
In the intervening time, there are two things that you need to know about. One of them is that listeners to this stream in particular need to pay special attention to episode 191 of the Magnus Archives.
Hush now.
And that is all I will say. And the second one is that my newsletter, The Full Lid, which covers pop culture, whatnot, and general goodness, goes out Fridays at 5 p.m. and is going out this Friday. And I think that's about it.
And what about TikTok?
Oh, of course, we're on the Clock app.
The Clock app.
Clock Talk.
In fact, that is exactly what I have to do after this, is I have to put the closed captions on the latest Clock app.
Thank you, Zolia. Yes, we are...
It is an award-nominated newsletter, and you always forget to tell people that.
It is an award-nominated newsletter. It's been nominated for the British Fantasy Award.
And it's Hugo nomination season pretty quick.
Pretty quick, which is why you can see me frantically clinging to the last evaporating crumbs of human joy. No, it's I can't lie to you, it's awful. But just run. No, I'm putting together my eligibility stuff shortly.
Thank you so much for joining us. Elfie says TikTok is how I found you.
Oh, fantastic! I'm so glad you found us here.
It's like long-form TikTok with less captions.
Yes, very much so.
And much more horror.
But no, the Clock Talk is very, very good fun. We're really enjoying doing that. And yes, there'll be an eligibility post for the Hugos and other things. Thank you for reacquainting me with Ursula Vernon. I missed her so much since I had to take a Twitter break. Yeah, Ursula is so good. So good.
We may be talking to Ursula about if we could maybe do some of her kissing books on the stream.
There have been discussions, and I believe it was written down somewhere other words, Smoochy Paladins with a question mark.
Which might be fun. We'll
yes.
see. But we've got stuff in the works.
Thank you, Zolia. It is always Hugo season in Ba Sing Se.
Oh, God. Truer words were never uttered from a grave. Anyway.
Wendy, Smoochy what now, when?
Yes, exactly. Can you imagine Alistair reading a romance novel, though? Wouldn't that be hilarious and wonderful and awkward? I'm just like, do I have to screen this first? Is it too explicit? I don't know.
Oh, how do you know I'm capable of...
Finishing that sentence?
Oh, have you know I'm capable? and on that bombshell, I've been Capability Stewart. This has been Marguerite. This has been Chungus. And you all have been amazing. Thank you, thank you, folks, so much. And we'll see you next time.
Have a good night, everybody. you.